Okay, this week's episode, finally, we're back in the book club game. It's my fault that we haven't book clubbed because it's taken me forever to read this book. But this book club is Under Pressure by Lisa Damour. Was awesome. It's about anxiety in teenage girls, and I think we had a great conversation about it. Like I say at the end of this episode, I have started rebuilding my website a little bit, so I have a new tab on there called Book Club Books. So you can go there. It'll have a link to the book if you want to buy it on Amazon. And it will have a link to the episode. So you can go to wifeotp.com and check out the book club tab. I've gotten a lot of emails saying, you guys should do a book club. And I keep thinking, we do. It's just been a while since we've had an episode. So that's where you can find all our past book club episodes. And this always with Cathy and Kirsten. They're my book club ladies. So they are who are on today. Our next book club book is called The Last Bookstore. My friend Brooke Purdy is the author. I've known Brooke forever, for probably 20 years. And she published her first book. We're super excited to read it. So this is going to be our next book club. I will have a link to this in my book club tab so you can purchase and read and listen to the book club if you are interested. I've been doing the same where I'm supporting my friends who have small businesses. So I'm going to plug them again. There is a new tab on the Wife OTP website called Links to Great Things. So the links have the code and the offer, whatever 15%, 20% offer on the link. So you can go to wifeotp.com and go to the Links to Great Things and just push the button and it'll send you to their website. So first is my friend Christina, who has her skincare skincare line called Provide, but they started making hand sanitizers during this epidemic. This bottle here, which I don't know how many ounces it is, 2 ounces, is $6.95. And she also sells big, I think 24 ounce maybe, refill bottles. And she sells these in packs of 4. So if you're interested, they're 80% alcohol. You can go to provide.com or you can, like I said, go to wifeotp.com and push the tab. My friend Natalie B Designs makes jewelry. These bracelets are an example of her jewelry, but she makes all different types of jewelry with a lot of natural stones. So again, there's a tab, wifeotp.com. I am so Panther right now t-shirt is being made. I don't have what it looks like yet. I have the graphic, but I haven't gotten the art from the graphic designer yet. But it's going to be a black tank top. So stay tuned. That's coming soon. And I personally am super excited about it. Bert designed it, actually. Bert designed it for me. And he was like, just do this. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I had in my brain, but I haven't had time to figure out how to make. So he did it for me in like 5 minutes. So I can't wait. That should be coming out probably by the next podcast. I'll at least be able to put it on pre-sale. So stay tuned for I'm so Panther right now because I'm so Panther right now. I've lost another pound. What are you doing?
I need my mic.
Well, I hope that you enjoy this podcast and thank you for tuning in every week. Okay, bye. So I'm going to make comments about shirts. Cathy, I have that same shirt.
Yes, I know.
I love that shirt.
Yeah.
It's flattering.
It's one of the first days that I'm actually wearing something that is not a sweatshirt.
Well, next time you have to text each other ahead of time and wear the same shirt.
I know, right? Or maybe you could make us matching shirts.
Oh, there we go. Oh my God.
We could have like the book club uniform. I'm liking this because you made that shirt, didn't you?
I did.
You are crazy. How?
Do you want to see my jeans? I made my jeans.
What? You made jeans?
I know. That's so crazy. That's awesome.
And I put my initials on the back. It says K-Lo.
Shut up.
Yeah,
I love that.
Thank you.
You have to have a special machine to sew denim, don't you? Or a needle or something? No?
No. A special needle, but no. Just a regular machine. It was my master project in April.
That is so cool.
Thanks.
I have no skills like that.
Oh, you have plenty of skills, lady.
I know how to use
plenty of skills.
A variety of saws.
That's a skill.
And some power sanders. I can do that. Power
That's mad skills.
On my podcast.
I know, it's just sticking my head in.
It's
celebrity drop in. Hey guys, what do you think? Hair covered over ear or not?
Creepy. Creepy.
But then I can do stuff like this. So, what are we talking about?
It's also creepy. Will you close that door?
She made fucking jeans.
She made jeans. Can you believe that? But she put a K on one pocket and a Lo on the other pocket. Her initials, K-Lo. I love it.
I like it.
It's awesome. What would you put on your pocket?
I don't know, but I have some clothing options I'm really interested in. I want you to make a pair of jeans for me. I'm going to come up with some clothing ideas that I'd like you to make for me.
I think you should make some pleated jeans for him. Do you remember back in the day?
Oh my God.
They made pleated jeans.
Nobody should remember those.
So bad.
Hey, can we go in on a pair of running pants? I'm having a hard time with running pants. Can I tell you what I want? I want running skirts. So what I want is what I'm wearing right now is what I like to. But exactly, everyone makes fun of what this looks like, but this is what's comfortable. But I just want like a skirt because I don't want fabric here because it rubs and chafes. So I just want a running skirt.
So my question is this: would this be worn under the running skirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have attachment
because you need some support, right?
You have an attachment like this, or better yet, an attachment that goes up like this, like just like this, right? I look fucking good. Be honest, I look good right now. And then a skirt so you don't look like you're wearing this.
You know what? You would look better if you tucked your hair behind your ear.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say, Kat? See, I bring the fucking thunder. Which one's which?
This was mine.
Okay.
I apologize if you feel sexually harassed. I feel sexually harassed in my own home. Close that door.
Tell them about your home.
Shut up! Being so mean to me. Not really, but sorry, guys. He can't help himself. I keep saying people keep complaining. I get complaint emails that he interrupts our podcast. Like, I can't stand it when he comes in there and he just takes over. Someone asked me to do over this anxiety podcast I did with his sisters because they were like, it was all about Bert. So can you do that one over and like lock him out? I would really like to hear what his sisters have to say. And I'm like, dude, you should live here. You should live here. You only have to deal with it for the hour and a half of the podcast. I deal with it all the time.
Oh my God.
It's so funny, that guy. Anyway. I know we're doing book club, but how's everybody doing? Good?
Yeah, I guess.
I am booked solid. So I lost my job in all of this, like so many people.
You did?
Well, I mean, for now, like I edit conference books and no conference for international conferences, and international conferences aren't happening, so the books aren't happening. So I'm not working, and our city is under a stay-at-home order, and yet I am in meetings from 10 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. today, literally without stop. Like, I don't know when I'm going to eat. Like, I'm hoping that one will end 15 minutes early so that I can grab a snack.
We can end 15 minutes early.
No, I mean, I'm not even complaining. Like, it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, how did this happen? One of the benefits to the stay-at-home order was not having a frenzied existence, and somehow happened. The end of the school year still happens. So there's like all these conferences with teachers, and you just add a couple other things into that, and suddenly I was like, oh my God, it's like a full work day.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Is that happening for you, Cathy?
No.
No,
still not working. No, I'm good.
All good. I noticed that you and your daughter had time to bake a massive amount of cookies and drop them at my house.
That was actually all my daughter.
Yeah.
She decided she wanted to do that and drop them off at her friends. And I have to tell you, it was probably one of the best things we've done.
Oh, yeah.
Just watching her deliver these little goodie baskets to her friends, like literally so excited, jumping up and down, like waving at her friends, like from the car, and they're on their porch. Like, it was really, really sweet to see.
Aww.
Like, she really needed to see some people and not like on a screen.
Yeah.
So
it was very sweet.
Yeah.
I have lost 1 more pound. So I am down 19 pounds and I am struggling not to eat your cookies. Because for anybody who doesn't know, Cathy is an excellent baker. She's a really good cook, but she's a superb, like gourmet, like amazing baker. And cookies are my number one. Like if you said, what's the one dessert? You could only have one dessert the rest of your life. It would be cookies. So every time I walk in the kitchen, I go, freaking Cathy. Why would she do that to me? It's sabotage. I'm not
lucky we didn't drop off the cakes. I mean, seriously.
I know. So tell me about the cake off. So tell me about that. That's really brilliant. I think this is really funny. Do you know about the cake off, Kirsten?
I don't think I've told Kirsten. No. So Max had his 16th birthday. It happened to be on Mother's Day this year. Which is kind of a bummer because, obviously can't really do much. He decided he wanted a cake bake-off. So all 4 of us each made our own cake. So we had 4 cakes in our house. And then he judged them. Like we did everything start to finish, like all from scratch, frosting, whatever. So we've had a lot of cake for the past week.
Well, what kind of cakes did you guys make? What did you make?
I made a cookies and cream cake. It tasted like Oreos.
Nice.
Let's see. Max made a vanilla cake with whipped cream and strawberries. Stephen made red velvet. And then Lily made a chocolate mocha cake.
And who won?
Lily.
She did.
She did.
That's so cool. I think that's awesome. I think it's super
really cool.
Fun. It was a really good idea. Like, what the hell else are we going to do? Stuck inside for a long time. So
I have that coming up too. Georgia's turning 16 in June. And it forces you to be really creative, right? How do we celebrate in this kind of bubble, but still make you feel like we've celebrated? 16 is a big birthday and we can't get a driver's license because DMV's closed. And so I've been trying to get Georgia to help me figure out, like, we have this new backyard that's really big. Do we invite a couple friends and put blankets out and go, here's your blanket. You're 6 feet away from each other, and order pizza and nobody touches anything. It's hard to figure out. Or do we do a parade where everybody drives by and honks? Or I don't know. Do we do an outdoor movie night where everybody again has their own blanket and sits there and nobody bring your own snacks and nobody, it's hard to figure out. But that's really creative. That's a great idea.
Yep, that was his idea. So the other thing we did, because it was Mother's Day, we didn't do the drive-by thing because that was just challenging that particular day. So Lily actually got all of his friends to send little video messages and she edited them together. So we had those playing on the TV, which was really cute too.
That's cool.
But you got to figure out, like, what do? You can't see anyone.
Yeah.
So.
Camille's birthday is Friday and the struggle is real. Yeah.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write down ask for photos of Georgia and make a photo slideshow while
That's
I'm thinking
cute. Yeah.
Friends. She has decided to wallpaper her walls with photos of her friends, literally top to bottom photographs on a big portion of one wall. The whole back of her bedroom door is photos. And then a portion of the wall behind the bedroom door, like floor to ceiling, is photographs of, I think, all of your kids, maybe not Vivian, but for some reason, Camille, I think, is on the wall. She follows Camille on Instagram. And she always like, Camille did this. It was really cool. I don't know what Camille's doing because I don't follow her. But she talks about it from time to time. But she has everybody on the wall. And I think that's a good idea, right? Like right now. That's probably makes her feel not so alone that she's surrounded by her friends, at least pictures of her friends.
Yeah. And a picture somehow feels more authentic than even a Zoom or FaceTime interaction, because it's like right now I'm looking into your eyes and your eyes, but it means that I'm not looking into the camera. And so none of us can actually look into each other's eyes at the same time. And, but at least in a picture, it's stable, it's static, and you can go, that's what it looks like when I'm looking right into my friend's eyes.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. We have this sponsor, Bert's podcast has a sponsor called Skylight Frames. And that's been amazing. I sent it to my in-laws and my dad. and you can email photographs. It was kind of expensive. It was like $175 or something for the frame, but it's worth every penny because the grandparents feel like they are with us because they have this slideshow running. Both of them coincidentally put it in their kitchen. So when they're cooking dinner, they go, oh, I remember that moment, and we send them pictures from when they were little all the way up to now. It's been like a retrospective slideshow running continuously. And we have it in our kitchen, and I love it too, because then I feel it makes me feel connected.
That's really cool.
So freaking isolated. It stinks. All right, should we talk about this book that only took 8,000 years to read? Not because the book was hard to read, but because I did not have time. It was the focus that the problem for me. What were you? It's
a great book, but I read it for the first time when it first came out, like a few years ago, and then I reread it when we talked about reading it in like the fall, maybe.
Yeah. I think it was maybe.
Thank God I made notes at the time because this was months ago. I've literally read probably 100 books since then.
Right? Well, this is the book. I don't know if it's backwards.
No, that's right.
No, it looks good.
It's Under Pressure by Lisa Damour. Yes. Mm-hmm. And she is a psychologist at an all-girls school somewhere in the Midwest. I don't remember. Is it Chicago or somewhere? And she wrote another book called Untangled, which was awesome, which was kind of about what's going on in a teenage girl's brain from age, what was it, like 10 to 16 or something like that. It really gave you an insight to the growth and development of a teenager's brain and could help you parent that teenager. And I thought that book was great. We never book clubbed about it, but I read it. And then this is her next book. I don't want to say her second book. I don't know how many books she read, but this book came out after Untangled, and it's about confronting the epidemic of stress and anxiety in girls. But I really thought this could be applied. I mean, some of it was girl specific, but I think a lot of it was anxiety specific. Right?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of it applies to just the general sense of anxiety that people are feeling now. I think when I went over my notes, I was like, oh yeah, I need to remember that. I need to remember that. I need to remember that right now. And I'm clearly not a teenage girl.
Right? Exactly. So maybe we weren't meant to talk about it until now. That's what I kept thinking. Maybe we weren't meant to talk about it until our whole, not that we are the end all be all of who everybody listens to, but I mean, people who listen, I thought, well, maybe this was the right time for us to do this book club, because I've been reading other books, but this book, I wanted, when we do a book club book, I want to focus and take notes. And that's very different than sitting down and reading through a book that you're just reading. So it took me a lot longer to read this book because I wanted to do it with this purpose in mind. So sorry it took so long.
Yeah. I have to put in a plug. So the second time that I read it, I actually listened to it on the audiobook. And I think, Leanne, had you listened to it, or maybe you listened to Under Pressure? Untangled. Untangled.
Yeah.
I just have to put a plug for this author. She's not only obviously very bright, she's a PhD, but she has a great voice. She has a good reading voice. She reads very well. Mm-hmm. I listen to a lot of audiobooks now too, and I'm getting really picky about some people's voices are just annoying. Yeah. And she doesn't have an annoying voice, but she also reads very well. I felt very, very engaged doing that too.
Yeah.
So
I did too with Untangled. I didn't audiobook this book. When I audiobook, I forget stuff. I have to see it, I think. I don't.
Yeah, because usually when you're audiobooking, you're like multitasking. At least I am. Like,
yes,
yeah.
That's what. So, what are your notes? You always have good notes. I have notes too. Actually, I took 3 pages of notes from this book.
I actually took notes on this one too, because I knew I was going to forget it. And actually reading my notes yesterday, I was like, oh my God, I forgot a lot of this stuff already.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. My favorite quote from the book was talking about a teenage girl. I welcome her eye rolls as confirmation she heard what I said.
Ah,
that was such a mental shift for me. That was like a Rubik's Cube turning all the way around and clicking into place. I was like, oh my God, I've literally only ever thought about eye roll as the epitome of rudeness, disrespect. And so to think about it as, oh, she heard me. She doesn't necessarily like it, or she doesn't want to appear to like it in this moment, but I have been heard.
Right.
And I think that is revolutionary. It's so smart.
Yeah, that is. I don't remember that quote. That must have been, was that early in the book? I think it was. I read the early part of the book a while back and took notes then. That's an awesome quote.
Yeah, it's hard to remember in the moment, though, when you're pissed off at getting the eye roll.
And you get them? Do you get eye rolls, Cathy?
On the reg, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. My children are perfect. We get eye rolls on the reg too. But I'll have to remember that. That is really good to remember. That means she heard you, and she didn't necessarily like what you said, but she heard you. I was talking to somebody in social distancing the other day who almost every word I said was an eye roll. And I was being told that I was a dork by this teenager, right? It's not one of my teenagers. It's someone else that had dropped something off, and we were social distance in the yard. And I was pretty much being told why I was lame. And so in response, I was like, one day you'll understand. Because she was making fun of my friendship with her mom, that we are such dorks and we are so lame and we are so embarrassingly goofy. And I said to her, one day you'll understand. But right now, I mean, what do you want us to do? Act like we're your age and be too cool and like, oh, look at my new Air Jordans or whatever the thing is that kids are wearing these days. I was like, I think you want us to be exactly the way we are, and later you'll understand. And I swear to God, she rolled her eyes maybe 4 times in like 2 sentences. But I didn't have that quote in my ammunition to think, okay, she's hearing me. She just doesn't want to hear me.
Yeah, it's a good one, right?
Yeah,
it's a good one.
That is a good one. Mm-hmm. Well, I know in the book it said anxiety in girls has skyrocketed in recent years. And she was talking about maybe why that's happening, right? Social media being one piece of that, which I think is obvious and is talked about a lot. But I kept in this book thinking back to the book club book we read before, The Coddling of the American Mind, and wondering, you know, one of my favorite quotes, let me see. Okay. One of my favorite quotes that I starred was, you lessen anxiety by helping them approach, not avoid their problems. Avoidance makes anxiety worse. And I thought back to the coddling of the American mind, as a society, sort of, we have been helping kids avoid pain, uncomfortableness, failure, hard work, those things that kind of build grit. And I thought she's basically saying the same thing. You should help them move toward what makes them anxious as opposed to withdrawing. And Isla's been having some anxiety with this pandemic. And I explained that quote to her. I said, this is what I'm supposed to do as a parent. I'm supposed to say, oh, you're afraid of your closet at 13, still afraid of her closet. I was like, so I could say, well, then just don't go in the closet and you'll be fine. But that's not what this woman is telling me to do. What she's saying is to go in the closet with you and say, hey, nothing's in this closet. And the next time you're scared of the closet, remember this moment and go in the closet. And the more you go in the closet, the less anxiety you'll have. Right?
Yes.
She has a walk-in closet and she is convinced that people break in our house when we're not here and hide in her closet. And I'm like, first of all, you can't see the floor in your closet. You couldn't possibly stand in this closet. Like, they would fall as soon as they went in the closet. It's like a booby trap. There's no way anybody would be in this damn closet. But the other night we came home and she had left her windows open because her room smelled so teenagery. It smelled like cooked onions, right? Which is body odor. And I was like, you will leave your windows open. I am so sorry. And we forgot to close them. And we went to the new house to water plants. We came back. She was like, I left my windows open. There's definitely someone in my closet. And I'm thinking, no. And that's when I had this conversation. I can't allow you to continue to be afraid of your closet. We have to walk through this. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, there's actually another quote that's very similar to that I wrote that I really liked. If only I could find it right now. But basically it's talking about, oh, sorry. I thought I just had it.
Well, while you're looking for it, what do you think about that, Kirsten?
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually the essence of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So when Camille was 4, she got a bad dog bite. We didn't have dogs at the time, and it was terrifying. I mean, it broke the skin. She didn't need stitches, but it was definitely bleeding, and it wasn't great. It was legitimately stressful, and anxiety provoking, and it provoked an intense anxiety about dogs and animals in general, kind of like animals in the house. And like if we were going for a walk, she wanted to cross the street if there was a dog coming towards us on the sidewalk. And we did coddle that for a little while because she was 4 years old. She'd had a bad dog bite. It's like, we don't know these dogs that are coming down the street. So it wasn't like we could go, no, let's go see the dog. You can't do that anyway. And at the time, we didn't know a lot of people with dogs that she could interact with. They were all like relatives who were far away. And then over the years, Richard and I were talking and we were like, this isn't working. Yeah. She needs to be around animals. We need to get an animal. And so we got a cat first, and those two just, to this day are just inseparable. It was one of the best things that we could have done for her anxiety wise, but also just, my God, animals are the best. Yeah. But then we really thought about getting a dog. And I remember you guys counseled me on getting a dog. My very first camping trip with our troop, we were all sitting around the Saturday night and we were going to go home on Sunday. We were all exhausted. It was an exhausting trip, a tent camping trip. And everybody was talking about, oh, what are you going to do on Sunday? Oh, I got to do this. And I said, oh, we're actually going to meet a dog that we might adopt. And I said, but I just found out that the dog's only like 7.5 pounds. And I think I want to cancel it. I don't want a little dog like that. And you both were like, well, my dog's only weighs this much. My dog only weighs this much. And of course she was a rescue. So she put on weight. She was underweight at the time. We ended up getting her and ended up getting another dog 2 years later. And this is a very long story to say that Camille is, a huge dog lover, has volunteered at the East Valley shelter before with dogs, reading to dogs. She just is a huge dog lover, and it has completely overcome any fear of any animals. But that was a long story to say I am 100% in favor of that approach of like leaning into whatever the fear is, instead of just, allowing it. Especially if it's something that's functional, like, animals are a part of our lives. Like you can't, it's sort of unrealistic to go through to expect to go to someone's house, to expect that every house that you go to doesn't have an animal in it, to expect that every sidewalk you're walking down doesn't have an animal approaching. So, there are some fears that you're like, well, is it worth this? But the closet, you're going to have a closet, hopefully.
Your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll sometimes leave your window open and forget, this speech about lessening anxiety led into this whole other speech about preparing them for being an adult. I mean, it really was a gateway opportunity for us to say our job as parents is to make you fully functioning, independent adults. And if you can't go into your room and check your closet by yourself, that's a problem. I mean, how are you ever going to, and are you going to have a roommate go, hey, I'm really scared of my closet. Could you just come in here and check my closet with me? I mean, I guess you could, but is that what you want for yourself? You know, that's the other piece of it. Do you want for yourself that you can't figure out how to push through an anxiety? I know some people have chemical anxiety issues that are completely different issue that need help other than these tools. But for the typical American teenage girl, there's a lot of anxiety that can be dealt with stuff like this. I mean, her examples were a dog example, and I think she had an example of a girl who was avoiding a chemistry exam. She felt really unprepared and did not want to take this chemistry exam. And Lisa, the author, said, well, I can go one of two ways. I can say, yeah, skip it. But what's going to happen is her anxiety is going to build because she'll have to take that exam at some point. So why not go to the teacher and say, I'm feeling unsure. I need a little help. Have the teacher help her and take the exam and be okay with the grade you got because you asked for help. You did your best. And ultimately, the girl didn't do very well on the exam, but felt okay about it because she had faced her anxiety and took the steps to take care of herself and did it, and it was over. I mean, Bert is the worst procrastinator. And I keep saying to him, when you procrastinate stuff, it causes you anxiety because you know you have to do it. You know it's coming. You have to do it. You don't have a choice. So why not just do it? And then you're done and all this anxiety is over. And instead, he'll push it off. There's this one email his poor manager, I think, has sent 15 times. I need an answer on this in like the last 10 days. And I'll go to Bert and go, could you just please answer him? He can't move forward. And he's like, I make a decision. I don't want to make a decision on this. I'm just overwhelmed. It's like 15 times. And I feel really bad for Reg because then Reg can't get it off his plate. He can't move forward. And it's all about anxiety. But, you know, he keeps saying to Isla when I'm having these conversations with her about this, he's like, I'm a lost cause. There's no change in me. So don't look to me for a way to live or see me procrastinating. Don't listen to that. I can't change me. And I keep going, that's so not true. That's a cop-out is what that is. But whatever. He's got to figure that out on his own. What was your quote, Cathy?
My quote, sorry. It took me a while. Anyway. All right. It says, I start by reminding myself that the stuff of life can be divided into 3 categories: things we like, things we can handle, and things that constitute a crisis. Anyone who spends time with young people knows when children and teenagers become upset, they forget about the middle category. They sometimes believe that when things don't go the way they want, they're facing a crisis. It falls to the adults to help them to see that the situation otherwise. And I think
that's so good.
Talks about exactly what you're saying, is they forget about the stuff that they actually can handle. It's like one or the other. And you're like, no. You can handle talking to your teacher about this chemistry test.
What was the first one?
What
was the first one? It was things I can handle and things that are a crisis. What was the
life that can be divided into 3 categories: things we like, things we can handle, and things that are a crisis.
I love this.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I really
missed
like that too. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Like they forget, like you can handle looking in the closet. You can handle this. You can handle a slow approach to a dog. Like you can actually do this. And it's our job to help them realize that piece of the anxiety of what they can actually do.
Because their brain works in extremes, I think. Mm-hmm. I think they're catastrophic thinkers at this time period in their life. Everything is the best I've ever had or the worst thing on the planet. And there is no middle. You're right. Yeah. So that's a great quote. I love that quote.
Yeah.
That one's really good to bring them back to the middle. I should use that with my husband.
He may benefit from that too.
There's no middle. There is no middle. Even in the way he speaks. That was the best workout I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm like, you said that yesterday. So But nothing's improving like in your physical shape or body. So is it really the best? I don't know. I'm confused. I mean, I'm glad you talk that way, but he talks that way in the negative also. This is the worst. I am the most depressed I've ever been. Really? Because you were really depressed when your grandmother died. Like legitimately. As well you should have been. So maybe getting a pair of Air Jordans in the mail that don't fit you is not the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, he does like his shoes. They are important. But I keep going, really? What? And I say to him over and over for years, the way you talk to yourself matters. And if you say that's the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, your body believes you and reacts accordingly. So if you say, oh, that's a bummer, I'll just return them and get a new pair of shoes, your body acts accordingly, right? And it's the same for teenagers. If you teach them to say, hold on, is this the worst thing that ever happened in my life? No. Okay. Then their body and their stress and their anxiety acts accordingly. Your self-talk is so important, I think. And their self-talk, I think, is very loud and very almost hyperbole. I think they talk in such extremes, teenagers, in their head. The worst mom on the planet, you know? I'm not the worst. Promise. Promise. You could have had mine.
Well, but it's also like immediate. Like you're the worst mom right then and there. So like you may be the worst right for that second, and in 3 seconds it's over. So, but that's the problem. And Bert may be the same. This just is the best workout ever. And then in 3 seconds he'll have another one that's great or whatever.
You're accurate. Yes.
Yeah.
You're very accurate. Stress is good and healthy, she says. It pushes us. These are the things I wrote down. I agree with that. Stress is good. You know, working out with my trainer, he keeps saying about finding that area of stress for your body that's effective, right? So there's a certain amount you can push yourself physically that's effective. If you go over that amount, it's no longer effective. Your body is now in like survival mode and you're not burning fat or building muscle. You're trying to stay alive. And then there's below that where you don't make any progress. I think that's the same with this, right? A little bit of stress is really positive.
Yes,
Well,
she says related to that, look at anxiety as an ally, not an enemy, because it's helping you to grow from that stress. But sorry, Cathy.
No, go ahead. This sort of the same thing. She says stress and anxiety are like fraternal twins. They have a lot in common, but they're not actually the same. They can both be uncomfortable, but stress refers to the feeling of emotional or mental strain. Anxiety usually refers to the feeling of fear or dread or panic.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Like stress.
Yes, and she used that to clarify that a lot of the times we'll say to ourselves, like, I'm so anxious about this. And instead we should be saying, I'm stressed right now.
That's really important.
Yeah.
See, this book really was for my husband in the management of Bert Kreischer, who may actually be a teenage girl. I'm pretty sure. Because he constantly says, I'm having an anxiety attack. And I keep thinking, but you're not. Your heart's not racing. You're not sweating. You're just stressed out. You have a lot going on. But I missed that in the book too somehow, the difference between anxiety and stress. That's really smart way of kind of thinking about the difference.
I actually, this is the only time that I marked the page. Oh no, this is in the audiobook. She talks about the distinction between stress and anxiety at the 32-minute mark of the audiobook.
Okay. 32 minutes, stress versus anxiety. I have this on audiobook also because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to read it. I'd just run out of time. So I'll make Bert listen to that because hopefully that will help him find these things I can handle in his life because he thinks things are always in crisis. And being able to separate stress from anxiety would help you separate things I can handle from things that I'm in crisis, right?
Right.
That's really smart. Really
Yeah.
smart, Cathy. You're so smart. Both of you are so smart. Okay, I wrote down outside our comfort zone equals personal growth. So I wrote my own note for that. For that type of personal growth equals an intrinsic value, right? An intrinsic value, I believe, is what self-esteem, what builds real, concrete self-esteem, is if you push yourself outside your comfort zone and grow, you own that, right? That's yours and it can't be taken away from you. So I thought that was really great to think about going outside your comfort zone, or to talk to your daughter or son about trying to go outside your comfort zone, making a concerted effort, and knowing that the end result is your self-esteem increases. You feel better about yourself. It makes you stronger as a person. So I wrote that down as a mental note for me to remember to inspire my kids. They don't really want to go outside their comfort zone much.
No.
Change is hard for everybody. Yeah.
It is hard, but I remember being a kid that would try anything. Not food related. I was really picky with food. But if my dad said, hey, we're going to go and chop down a Christmas tree in the woods, I'm game. Hey, we're going to go pick up rocks off this mountain to build a chimney. Let's do it. We're going to chop firewood all day. I'm in. Like, I just wanted to do. My kids are not like that. They're like, nah, not interested. So the part of me goes, well, that's how they're wired. Why should I push them? But then the other part of me goes, the things that I did that I said yes to, was that because I'm a curious person by nature? Or did I choose those things and became a curious person? Does that make sense? Which came first?
Yeah, maybe both, but maybe the other thing is that now their lives are so curated by having devices, like having the access to the internet. They can seek out exactly what they already know they like, instead of when we were kids and did not have that access. Maybe we were more apt to try things because there wasn't as much going on. You know, it was like ride your bike around the neighborhood or go pick up rocks. Sure, let's go get the rocks. Like, I just wonder if some of that is just in this digital age of being able to like deeply lean into the things that we already know that we love.
So there's no need to be stimulated by anything else. I don't have a need to. I mean, I was bored stiff when my dad's right. I was bored to death when my dad said, let's go pick up rocks. I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll pick up rocks all day long. I'm doing nothing alone. I have no siblings. Yeah, I'll go pick up rocks. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe that's part of what they're culturally in right now. But
I also think they had more, like we had more freedom, you know, like, you know, my parents were like, leave, go out, go play.
Yeah.
Like they had no idea what we were doing. They weren't paying attention. We were gone all day.
Yeah.
So you were curious. You did whatever. Kids don't have the luxury of that now. Like they're not allowed to go outside and play. Like they don't just go down the street to their neighbor's house or whatever. So.
Well, especially city kids like ours.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Maybe like suburban or, you know, rural kids in rural areas might have a bit more freedom.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something to ponder. I wrote down, you can recognize healthy versus unhealthy anxiety by the frequency the alarm goes off. I thought that was cool to go, okay, we're hitting anxiety 4 times a day. Maybe this is not healthy. I thought that was a good visual, or not visual, but a good way of thinking about it. How much is this alarm going off? Just to give yourself a little red flag, you know, because not every anxiety is a bad thing. How do you know when it's unhealthy? I like that. Anybody else have quotes? I'm just going to keep reading mine, but you can interject with yours.
I thought one thing that she talked about, this is sort of apropos of nothing, but digitally dumping emotional junk was a quote that she used for when you get a text from your teenager when they're at school and they drop an emotional bombshell on you, like, oh my God, I can't believe the drama that's happening here.
I'm dropping out of school. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever the drama is. And it's like they detonate it on you. And so then here we are at home and running our errands all day and thinking, oh my God, I wonder how that played out. I wonder how that teacher dealt with that. I wonder if that kid is still being mean to my kid. You're stressing all day long. And it may have been just one moment in their lives. It may have just been, they needed to vent in that second. And maybe things were better literally 30 seconds later. But we don't know that. And we're living on high alert. It's increasing our anxiety because they have the ability to do that. Whereas in the past, before cell phones, our parents didn't have a play-by-play of what was going on in our lives. They didn't know anything. And so we'd come home and they'd know the sum total of our day by our behavior at the end of the day, but they wouldn't have the play-by-play and have that affecting their whole day. They'd have their whole day to live in whatever way their mindset was without having that dumped. And I just thought that was a very evocative quotation, digitally dumping emotional junk.
Has that happened to you guys ever? Have you ever gotten a text from school where like something crazy's happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have.
Are you kidding me?
My kids either don't trust me, don't like me.
I don't think that's it.
Or deal with it. I don't know, because I'm sure it happens, but that's never happened to me. I was just thinking, when have I, or if it did, I just ignored it, I guess, and just went, oh, well, I'll deal with it when I get home. I don't know. But that happened to you.
Oh, yeah.
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 So many times.
And not so many times, but it's definitely happened. I'm trying to remember specifically, but like, yeah.
How crazy.
Yeah. So many times that I can't think of a specific interesting story about it, but just, yeah.
But that is a good way of thinking about it. It's exactly what you said earlier, Cathy, where they say, I hate you. And then 5 minutes later, it's gone. So it's the same exact extreme. Like you said, the I can handle this, I'm in crisis. It's one of the two. I'm glad you brought that quote up, because for us in the moment, I guess it would be helpful if I ever got a text like that to say, okay, she can this is probably the middle. I can handle this, but she's treating it like it's a crisis. So let's see what the day plays out and suss it out later. So that
it's also, I think that is their way of handling it. Like, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to dump it on you, and now I don't have to hold it anymore.
Yes,
like, this is
totally.
Also, I'm actually rereading Untangled right now, and this is one of the things she's talking about, is how you as the parent or caregiver, whatever, need to be that bucket that sort of holds that stuff for them. Like, that is exactly how they deal with it throughout the day. Like, I'm just not going to. I'm giving it to you. That's my coping skill.
That's a coping skill. And I remember in Untangled, she said, and we just had this conversation with our kids too. She said in this book, in Under Pressure, how hard it is for girls to say no, that they have been programmed to people please and to say yes. So saying no is so much more difficult for a girl than it is for a boy, because of the way we've been societally programmed. And I remember in Untangled, she had said, make yourself the scapegoat for your daughter. Tell your daughter, if you don't want to do something, tell them, my mom won't let me. And tell your daughter, I'm good with that. I'm happy to be the bad guy. So you don't have to be the bad guy, so you can take care of yourself. Now, some might say honesty is the best policy. And shouldn't you just say to your friend, I don't want to go? Yes, I think that should be the end goal when they're an adult. But social dynamics are so important at this age that is too scary. So then they'll go to the party where everybody's drinking that they don't want to go to, and end up drinking because someone's pushing them to drink when they never wanted to go in the first place because they can't say no. So I would much rather be the bad guy and have all her friends hate me and have her take care of herself. And then as we approach 18, 19, 20, whatever, you can say, now's when you shift and you take responsibility for what you need. I don't want to do that right now. So we can do it next week, but right now I have to study, I have to work out, I have to sleep, I have to work, whatever it is. So that it's a stepping stone to get her comfortable with missing out, right? Because part of the social dynamic is they don't want to miss anything. Even though, like, there was this one day where Georgia said to me, I'm really tired and I don't want to go to this thing, but I feel like I have to go because I'm going to miss everything. And I'm like, but you don't. You can say, my mom won't let me go. My mom said I've been staying up too late and now I'm punished and I can't go. And then you can get some sleep. I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. Ultimately, she went and regretted it. And I was like, well, that's how they learn too. You know, you can't make them do that. They have to learn by doing. So sometimes they do and they go, oh, yeah, bummer. I should have blamed it on my mom and stayed at home and went to sleep. But yeah, the concept that it's really hard for girls to say no. There were a lot of things in here about stuff like that I thought was really helpful to remember.
There's a lot of academic stuff like that too, actually.
Yes. And athletic.
Yeah.
You know, Georgia did not want to play third base. And her third baseman had like a debate conference or something she had to go to. This was in the very beginning of the season, like in February. And so she had to play like 2 games at third base and she was a wreck. And I was like, why don't you just tell your coach, I am not comfortable playing third base? And she's like, oh, I could never do that. And I'm like, yeah, you at least say to her, I'm really nervous. Like, even if you can't say no, tell her, I've never played third base. I haven't practiced playing third base and I'm freaking nervous. So could you help me? You know, something. She was like, no, I can't say any of that. And that bummed me out because her coaches are all women and they're awesome. But she still felt like she couldn't, I think in her mind, that was a no, right? Mm-hmm. Just saying, I'm really nervous was a no. And I was bummed about that. I really wanted her to be able to say, hey, I'm really not comfortable here. But they progress when they progress, right?
She'll get there.
She will. So something else I wrote down, a shy or cautious girl does not necessarily mean that she's anxious. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really important because I don't know what shyness is about. Maybe it's about being afraid of being vulnerable. Maybe it's, just a personality type. Maybe it's someone who doesn't know what to say. But shyness is very different than being anxious. Just being quiet is very different. Not everybody has to be the same. And I thought that was good to put out there. There were 3 types of infants she described. I thought this was very helpful because my mother-in-law told me this phase of life is a repetition of like toddlerdom, right? So the same brain growth and development that happened when they were a toddler happens again when they're in this like adolescent, prepubescent area. So she always said to me, the toddler you had is going to be the teenager you'll have. So if you have a temper tantrumy, overreactive, super emotional, I want what I want when I want it, non-compliant toddler, you're probably going to have something similar as a teenager. So, and I find that really fascinating because it's kind of been true. Kids anyway. But she described 3 types of infants, and I thought this might be a good way of looking at your kid and seeing what they're going through. The first one was an easy infant. They're easygoing, they accept change, and they accept unfamiliar people. The second was a difficult infant. They're irritable, and they hate change. And the third was a slow to warm, which is cautious and slow to adapt to change, but ultimately does, right? So I thought, well, which child did I have? And another thing she said in the same thought process was about the slow to warm infants, and specifically was her first reaction to a social situation may not be her final reaction. I thought that was really important because Isla will say, I don't want to go. And ultimately she'll end up going to a party, a bar mitzvah, whatever. She'll go, nope, I'm not going. I don't want to go. And then she'll ultimately end up going, and then she'll ultimately have a blast. So What do you think about those 3 infant types in that?
That 100% resonates. The slow to warm infant is a slow to warm teenager. And the same thing that you're saying, the immediate response is, no, I don't want to go. And then eventually she'll come around. Yeah, that resonates.
What do you think, Kath?
Yeah, that's funny. I don't remember that at all in this.
Isn't that
Me
funny?
too. I know.
How
Did
we
we read
all
the same book?
It's crazy. We all pulled different things out, whatever struck
Yeah.
you.
But yeah, it makes complete sense. Yeah. I have one who is very slow to warm and one who is extremely extra slow to warm.
Not quite difficult, but extra slow to warm.
No, there's the difficult, but then there's the eventual warming. But
Right.
Yeah.
I have an easy and a slow to warm.
Mm-hmm.
Isla actually was an easy infant, but she's not so easy at this moment. But I think she actually is easy. She's just having a moment of slow to warm. And Georgia was slow to warm and is now pretty easy. So maybe I had a flip-floppers. Anyway, anybody have a quote to share? Or I'll keep sharing mine, or something, a thought that inspired you.
There's another thing she talked about. This is like totally changing subjects, but she was talking about conflict and unhealthy conflict and how you sort of deal with it. There's like 3 things. If you're okay, I'm just going to read it because I'm clearly not articulating well. 3 forms of unhealthy conflict are instantly recognizable: acting as a bulldozer, acting as a doormat, or acting as a doormat with spikes.
And I remember that.
I wrote that down too.
You did. And then there's really only one way to sort of to deal with conflict in a healthy way. And the guiding metaphor is a pillar, somebody who stands up for itself without stepping on anyone else. And I just thought that was really fascinating.
So describe bulldozer. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but describe it. Doesn't she describe it?
She does. I will read it. A bulldozer deals with disagreements by running people over, while a doormat allows themselves to be run over. A doormat with spikes employs passive-aggressive tactics, such as using guilt as a weapon, playing the part of a victim, or involving third parties in what should be a one-on-one disagreement.
Mm. Okay. What page was that? Do you know?
I didn't write the page down. I don't know.
I'll have to find it. I want to read those to my kids.
Yes.
To make sure they understand the healthy is the pillar. But also, she said, I remember in that section, that sometimes you're a doormat with a spike because we're all human.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're a doormat and sometimes we're a bulldozer. Like it's to not set yourself to an expectation that you'll always be a pillar, because that's unrealistic. But to recognize, I think recognizing when you're one of these maybe not so healthy, and then you can make a different choice, right?
Yes.
But if you don't have, I remember that, but I didn't write it down. But I remember thinking, this is amazing. I must have been somewhere where I didn't have my notebook or something. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think I will go and talk to them about these 4 it's really 4 different ways of handling conflict. Maybe I'll talk to my husband about that, because he is a doormat with spikes or a bulldozer at all times. So, I like to think I'm a pillar, but I think a lot of the time I'm a doormat. What are you guys?
Probably a doormat or a doormat with spikes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say for me, a doormat or doormat with spikes. Yeah. And the thing is, with the doormat, it doesn't necessarily mean, some of these things it's just like what you said, Leanne. It's like a legitimate way to get through, to cope with some situations, because there are some people that you're going to have conflict with that maybe it's not worth it to go all in on that conflict resolution. Like I'm thinking about, like, if you're volunteering at school and this is the one time that you ever interact with this person, and maybe they're not working the way that you want, and you go, I'm just going to doormat this one out because who cares? It's only a couple hours of my week. you know?
Right. And I think that actually is really important. The way I took it was that if you're a doormat all the time, that's super unhealthy. But I think you're right. Sometimes, while that particular coping mechanism may not be healthy, it may actually be the right thing to do in that moment.
Right.
As long as it's not like your pervasive way of dealing with conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
and
really
sometimes a bulldozer is needed, you know, because it's like sometimes it's like nobody really knows how to resolve the conflict. And so sometimes it's helpful to have the bulldozer just, you know, pushing through. And it's like, yeah, it gives you something to butt up against and go, I don't know if that was the best resolution, but it's resolved, you know?
Yeah. I can be a bulldozer for sure. Or as my therapist said, a fire hoser. I'm assuming those are the same. But I bulldoze. I think I bulldoze in like a lot of areas, but positive too, not necessarily with conflict, where I'll go in and go, here's what we're doing. We're cleaning out our closets and we're not stopping until it's done. Ready? Go. I mean, that's kind of a bulldozer too.
Yeah. No, or like with Girl Scouts, I think that you're a bulldozer for good with Girl Scouts. Like, because sometimes the three of us, we come to a meeting and it's like, we're all so polite. We're friends and we're polite and we're like, okay, who wants to start? Like, you know, and Leanne's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And, you know, and just starts the meeting. And then Leanne will say to us, why do I always start the meeting? And Cathy and I are like,
because you're a bulldozer, Leanne. And we are doormats with spikes, but you don't pay attention to the spikes. You just bulldoze over them.
No spikes, because spikes it means
you?
passive aggressive. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad someone started the meeting because I don't know if I was going to. Like,
I have massive guilt about that, where I go, I fucking did it again. I started it again.
Just checked in on Isla.
Okay.
10:58.
Awesome.
She's up.
Awesome.
Kind of.
Thank you, babe.
She said she has 2 minutes.
Thank you. Her classes don't start till 11 a.m., which suck because, oh my God, my husband is posing outside my door, which sucks because I'm always in the middle of something. I'm either in a podcast or I'm working out with my trainer, and then I can't help her manage herself, but she clearly is managing herself okay. It only took, 8 weeks? But homeschool. Okay.
Slow to warm, Leanne. Slow to warm.
I know, right? Hold on. Oh,
the other thing, like, again, sort of changing subjects. The other thing that there was another analogy she used that I really liked that I thought of more for Max than, I mean, now Lily is going to high school, so it'll be more relevant for her too. But it was about the analogy of the weight room, where they talk about high school being like a weight room. Like when you get in there in your freshman year, you're overwhelmed, you don't know what to do, whatever. But then like you start training, and 10th grade is all about like building muscle and whatever. And 11th grade is, they add even more stuff on, just like academically, like you're more prepared in 11th grade. So they're challenging you more and more and more. And then 12th grade, it's kind of like a little bit like you've got all your stuff, you know what to do. They can challenge you more and you can breeze through it. It's sort of like how it feels really overwhelming when you walk in 9th grade, but it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to challenge you along the way. And I don't know, I thought it was a really good analogy.
That's cool.
She builds in so many great analogies in this book.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go. I've been a bunch. Your turn.
All right, I'm going to bulldoze into this.
Do it.
One thing that was really resonant to me, and that is really coming up a lot now that we're under the stay-at-home orders and things have changed so much, is that she talks about the best way to be under less pressure is so basic, building slack into your system. Not, can I squeeze this into my schedule, but instead thinking, should I? Which I'm like, oh, I automatically tend to go, yeah, we're free. Okay. Yeah. We don't have anything else scheduled then, instead of thinking, you know what? That is the end of the week. We are all tired at the end of the week. we have this and
Yeah.
not thinking through that. She said it's best to set a family schedule at 75% of what they can actually handle, because invariably things come up. There ends up being like some test that somebody forgot about that they had to study for, or you get a call from somebody, or your parents need help, or whatever. Like there's something, or the car breaks down, or somebody gets sick. And so when you're already operating at 100% capacity, it's like an explosion, instead of if you're operating at 75% capacity, it's not as big a deal. It's already, you've built in that slack.
I remember that. That was really, really important and smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And she says like, having extra time can reduce stress and increase joy.
Well, I can tell you this from the quarantine, that is proven correct.
Mm-hmm.
The removal of here's the problem with this theory. My high schooler plays softball. She would have to miss some practices to be at 75%. Right? She goes to school. She goes straight from school to practice. She doesn't get home until 6:30 from practice, which gives her just enough time to do her homework and go to bed. So she's really at 100%. So I would prefer that, and she has softball 4 days a week. So I would prefer that softball lessened so that we could actually do that. But what do I do? Say, well, then you're not playing softball? Well, that's
I know that this is really challenging to figure out.
It is, because there's the rub. Then you don't play softball.
So my mandate over quarantine has been, how do we like come out of this, not just jump right back onto the treadmill, but like, how do we come out of this better and find better systems for our families, find out what works better? And so, yeah, I'm totally feeling that having that slack, it's like, oh, dinner time isn't stressful when there's two people at home to help with meals. And, when we're not racing home from gymnastics or Girl Scouts or all of the other things. But then I go, like, I look at it, I was talking to somebody and they were like, well, oh, so are you going to quit Girl Scouts? And I was like, oh my God, no. Like, why would you say that? Of course not. They're like, well, what are you going to quit? Like, because something's got to give. I don't mean it has to be Girl Scouts, but like, well, are you going to quit gymnastics? Are you going to quit this? Like, are your kids going to continue to homeschool? And I'm like, I don't know what the answer is, but I know that it needs to be found for our family, because this is so much more functional. Not the not seeing people part, obviously. But there's got to be some middle ground between the two, and I haven't figured it out yet.
I don't, and part of it is not on. That's my point about softball is, I'm not making the rules of softball. If I got to make the rules of softball, I could manage it at 75%, but I'm not making the rules. So I can't say to the coach, yeah, my daughter's going to come for 1 hour and that's it. Because I can't, I guess I could do that, but I don't think it would work. I don't think the coach would go, yeah, I get it. You're going to run at 75%. No problem. She's not going to do that. So what do you do in that situation? How do you manage that? Because I want her to play softball if she wants to, but I also want her to have a minute to breathe. Georgia rides her bike every day. She walks the dogs every day, and she's helpful around the house every day, and she seems a lot happier. So she's happy playing softball, and she wants to be part of that. So it's going to be really hard to figure out, because I feel like we are just going to go right back to the rat race. And I don't want to go right back to the rat race either. I like this slower pace. I like not waking up at 5:45. But that
me too.
School starts. I'm up by 6:37, which doesn't seem that much different, but it really is. It's made a huge difference. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel a lot not happy. So she talked about how girls versus boys see their grades. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was fascinating.
It's 1,000% true.
It is, right?
Each. Oh my God. It is so spot on accurate. It's unbelievable.
So I'm gonna read what I wrote down. Mm-hmm. Girls see their grades as an all-important signal about what they are, or are not capable of. So boys see a bad grade as a lack of effort. Girls see a bad grade as a lack of ability. That's crazy.
It's so true, at least in my household. Like, it is crazy to me, and it mind-boggling and frustrating as all hell, because Lily puts a lot of pressure on herself to get good grades. And I'm like, I mean, I think I've talked about this before, where like it is full on crisis mode if there's an A- anywhere written in her grades. And I'm like, seriously?
It's an A-. That's pretty great.
Like, you can't function like that. It's not healthy, and it's not normal. You should not expect to have straight A's your whole life. And like, it shouldn't be like that. You're not smart at everything. You're not good at everything, but it is. And, and Max is like, woohoo, I didn't even study and I got a B. That's great. I don't have to study if I can get a B. I'm like, oh my God.
But the concept that for boys it's about effort and girls it's about ability is really fascinating. I don't know how Isla processes that, because she knows her brain doesn't work like everybody else. So her expectations are a little bit different. Like, she's happy when she gets a good grade, and a good grade for her is a B or above, right? A C is okay. Like, she doesn't get super upset. She gets really upset when she fails something. But I've never seen her attach it to her self-esteem. Like, I would imagine attaching your grades to your ability would then attach it to your self-esteem. But maybe she does, and I just don't read it right, or I'm not reading it that way. Georgia is similar in that she's always been an A student until we met French. And French is kicking her ass. And she basically is like, fuck you, French. Like, oh yeah, you want to see how little I can do? I'm going to do very little. Like, I've never gotten a call from a teacher ever on Georgia's behalf. And I got one from her French teacher saying she has 5 assignments she hasn't turned in. And so she's going to fail fail French. And the good news is she reached out to me on her own, and we have a plan as to how she's going to get these assignments completed in time to get her grade up to a passing grade. But I wanted you to know that she's at risk of failing if she doesn't complete these 5 assignments. And I was like, what kid are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Georgia, who? What? And she's been this way with French since first semester freshman year. She's now a sophomore. So when she figured out French was hard, she just has not applied herself at all. So I don't know if because it makes her feel like it's affecting her ability as opposed to her effort, that she's just disconnected and said, I'm not dealing with that at all because it makes me feel bad about myself. So I'm just not going to deal with it. Like, I don't know what that's about. But after reading this book, I think I may have a conversation with her about it and say, how is this making you feel? Why? And what's interesting is her friend Tatum, also straight A student, honors AP classes, C grade in Spanish. And it has the same emotional reaction to Spanish. Well, I'm not putting any effort into that, and that sucks, and my teacher sucks, and I don't understand what she's saying, and there's too many platforms to learn, and I can't keep up with. Every excuse you can think of, and she doesn't do that in any other class. I think it's the first time she's been challenged in like a core level, and maybe it's making her think I suck, so then I'm just not going to give that any attention, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the difference, though. I don't have boys, so I can't speak to it. But I'm glad that you said that. Max just goes, I got a B without studying.
He's like, well, I didn't even study and I got a B, so why would I bother studying? I'm like, fuck, dude, that's not how it works. Like, what if you did study? Can you imagine? He's like, yeah, but a B's a good grade, so why care?
That's what Bert's mother said Bert was like.
Yeah.
If he passed, he was a pass-fail brain. Am I passing? I'm good. That's all he wanted, was to pass. And so she was like, well, why am I asking more than that? He's passing. So,
well, honestly, unless you're going up for an academic job interview where they're looking at like, oh, you went to Harvard and you graduated with this, whatever. honestly, like I've never, any job that I've been up for, it's been like, oh, you have a degree. Like, that's it. So it's like a pass-fail mentality, really. Like, oh, well, you have your bachelor's degree. So that's, that's prerequisite. That's great. So you meet the standard. They're not diving deep into what grades I got at all. Not even a shallow dive. Like, it's just,
probably,
okay.
Probably in some ways, not even where you went to school.
No, exactly.
Yeah. It's just, do you have a bachelor's? Awesome.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but that is true. I think in life, we are about pass fail. Did your last boss like you? Pass,
Right.
Yeah. When you go to the doctors, you don't know if your doctor graduated the top of their class. I mean, sometimes you know what school they went to because it'll come up. They'll say, oh, you're from Georgia. Oh, I went to university, whatever, Yeah. But beyond that, you usually don't even know where they went to school, let alone did they graduate top of their class or bottom of their class.
Right.
You don't know what grades they got on their boards. They're just, okay, you're a doctor. It was pass fail.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure it matters. My father-in-law is, I think, arguably one of, if not the most successful real estate attorney in the state of Florida. And he barely got out of law school because he has the same learning disability that Isla has. So he's told me so many times he would be so frustrated because his friends would come and study with him because he studied harder than anybody else. They'd all get A's from cheating off his study stuff, and he'd make like a C-. And he'd be like, what's going on? But he's so successful now because he passed and he was able to get into what he loved and achieve. So really, if you looked at his GPA, you may not hire him. But if you look at his track record as an attorney, you go, oh, well, yeah. And Bert's sister and Bert, similar. But what she said about this boy versus girls mentality is we should, as parents, send her the message that she can improve with hard work. And students who believe as boys worry less about school. So if you can get your girl to shift over to it's about my effort, they worry less stress, less anxiety, which is good. Right? Okay. Let's talk about boys. Girls with boys. Boys. Girls with boys. Anybody take any notes about this part?
Yeah, I did. She talks about talking to our teens about how sexuality should benefit them and should be fun and should not need alcohol to be fun.
That's right.
So that's all. I'm on board with it. It all makes sense, but it's like, it is scary. It's scary to think about going, sex is really fun.
But it is. Sex is really fun.
And in the countries that have the most successful, the fewest teen pregnancies and the, fewest diseases and all of that are, I believe it's like maybe the Netherlands and Belgium and in Europe. And they're absolutely 100% about like sex ed, even in school, includes talking about that it's good and healthy, that it's a happy thing. And it's such a mind shift from the American puritanical mindset that we've been given. It's just, even when you believe it, it's hard to put into practice, I think.
It is sometimes. And I think the thing that people don't discuss is it's part of an adult life. It's part of being an adult. There are very few adults that have never had sex or don't have sex regularly. It's part of a marriage. It's part of a relationship. It's part of maturing. It's something biologically you're meant to do on some level. So why is it so taboo? It's almost like brushing your teeth. You do that. And this is just part of life. And your perspective on it is extremely important, because I think if you have the wrong perspective starting out, it's hard to undo that. And to say, because my Southern Baptist upbringing was juxtaposed with my mother's extreme acceptance of sex. She actually had probably a healthier view of what sex should be, that it should be fun and that you should enjoy it. And it should be not lighthearted, but that it's not this like all important, most important, crazy thing that you do, or that it's scary. My perspective watching her, where sex was concerned, was that it was fun and it was light and it was something you looked forward to, something that was okay to want. And then I go home to the Southern Baptist people, and that it was like for the procreation of children only.
And only inside of marriage.
Only inside of marriage, and missionary position only. And there was no talk of, I mean, maybe my mom went a little too far, but she would always say, do you know how to give yourself an orgasm? Like, you need to figure out how to do that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I would never do that. Oh my God. It can only happen during sex. No, there's none of this going on. And my mom would be like, you understand that it's really healthy to masturbate. Like, that's actually healthy. That's how you learn how your body works. And then you can say to your partner, hey, this is what I like, because you figured it out yourself. And I could not hear any of that at all. And she didn't say that to me as a teenager. She said that to me in my early 20s. So, which is, I think, more appropriate maybe than a teenage girl. But looking back, I thought that's one thing she probably did really right, is that she said to me, this should not be taboo. In fact, you need to figure this out so that you can enjoy this as much as you can. And I didn't take her advice until I was in my early 30s, because all that Southern Baptist, all that girls aren't supposed to be sexual or sensual or aggressive sexually, all that you learn societally, not just from Southern Baptist, but societally, if you behave that way, you're a slut.
Yeah, that's the stronger societal message, because we're all getting that from all different directions. Whereas then you have one person, your mom, who arguably, like, it would be easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it's like you were getting a lot of bad messaging from her. So then to hear that actually good parenting and important messaging, I think it would be easy to be like, no.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like,
I think I did say no until I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I was like, wait a minute, I actually don't know what I like. I actually don't know what to say. And I had the trauma of being date raped in college. So I think a lot of that shut down, where I was like, well, I can't be sexy because look where that got me. Nowhere good. So there was a lot of unraveling in my 20s of that trauma and the societal influences and the not wanting to hear anything from my mom. All of that came unraveled in my 20s. And I think back and think that was actually really good advice. And she would make me really uncomfortable with the things she was suggesting I would do. And I'm not sure I would go the same path with my kids. How do you figure out how to say, sex is not a bad thing. Sex is not something to be afraid of. Sex is something you should be mature when you decide to have, that it should be a decision based on these factors and not on, wanting to make the boy happy, afraid he's going to leave, being inebriated. It should be about positive things, like how you feel about the person and how you feel about yourself in that situation, and wanting to experience that and share that with another person, because it is a sharing of an experience. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward to having these conversations with my kids. But I have a 16-year-old. I had been having sex for 2 years by the time I was 16. So I don't think she's where I was, but we're coming up on it. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that like, I don't want to say it's too late. Obviously it's never too late, but like this probably should have been a conversation their whole life. Like that's how you normalize it. And it's not normalized at all anywhere. So it feels really daunting to have that conversation with your kid.
It does, but it needs to be had, right? Yeah. The one thing I will say, the good thing I will say about my crazy husband is that he's always, and yours too, Cathy, is they've always been like, your mom really gets my juices going. Not overtly saying I'm going to fuck your mom later or whatever, but Bert has always made it very obvious. He'll say like, Mom and I are going to go make out when we don't actually go make out, but he's letting them know we make out. And, you know, they're like, hey, that's disgusting. But I think in a certain way, that's actually really healthy to say.
It's also like in a really respectful way.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the other thing too. It's the modeling of like, I want you to have a partner that's like him.
Yes.
Like, I want you to be treated the way I am. Like there's something about that is really important. And hopefully that's the message they're walking away with. And my son is walking away with, that is how you treat a partner.
Right.
You know? God, I hope.
Let's hope. Yeah. But I think that is one thing Bert has done that I haven't done, because I've always, my mom was so hypersexual that it made me really uncomfortable. So I didn't want my kids to feel uncomfortable the way I did when they never would, because I'm not her and I'm not divorced and dating and I'm not having a different guy, you know. She was in no way like a loose woman, but she did have relationships that would, you know, 6, 8, 9 months and then go away, a year and then go away. So obviously she's having sex with these people as a mature woman, but that made me really uncomfortable because I'd be like, I got to know this one guy and he was awesome. And now there's a new guy. And now in 6 months, it's going to be another. So I just didn't, that was my takeaway. And I didn't want my kids to have that takeaway.
Sorry. No. I'm trying to get my day started.
But anyway, this is what I wrote down from her book. Research by the American Association of University Women found almost 50% of all American girls in middle or high school have experienced unwanted groping or touching at school.
That's terrifying.
Right? 50%?
50%. That is crazy.
How do we change that? Is that a boy issue? Is that a girl issue? Is that a society issue? Is it a teacher, counselor issue? How do you change that? Because for some girls, groping is all it will take to shut you down. Shut down. Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm still shocked that it's that high. I'm like, who the hell is doing the groping? Like, what is happening? How is there no parental guidance making that not happen? You know, I don't know. Like, it just seems so high.
It does.
I'm not surprised at all. It sounds about right to me.
I wonder if Isla has witnessed it and if that's part of the reason she keeps the baggy shirt. She didn't want anybody to see anything that's available to grope or grab. I wonder I do wonder about that because she really doesn't want you to see the shape of her body. And part of it's probably a self-esteem. Part of it's about her sensory processing. But I wonder if that's a part of it. Is that she doesn't want to be attractive to boys her age because that makes her uncomfortable. As I'm sure at her middle school with 1,800 students, there's been a little groping. Anyway.
I wouldn't be shocked. Let me just jump in real quick. I wouldn't be shocked if you like my hair.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
That's all. You aren't even listening.
Nope.
Hey, you have to finish signing those posters. Andy's here.
Good shit.
Okay. The ones in the man cave.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. This guy goes online and says, hey, I'm signing posters. We sell hundreds of posters and it takes me weeks to get him to sign them. It's so frustrating. I'm like, dude, either sign them first and then say that or be willing to sign them right away because people are emailing me going, where's my poster? I bought it 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, why don't you I am your friend Bert and say, sign my fucking poster. Okay. It's really difficult. Touch at school. They were talking about how a lot of girls are called hoe and slut because of what they wear. They're wearing leggings, so then girls avoid those clothing and not even an extreme, like, not that it would matter what you wear, but just leggings and a t-shirt. That was the example she gave in this book. And so they feel responsible, girls feel responsible for those names because of how they dressed. That's been going on forever.
Yeah, I feel like that's a society thing. Like, not that it's okay, but it has been going on forever.
Well, that we even have those words to begin with. It's like that those are derogatories, are all directed towards women. What is the equivalent towards a guy? Do you know? Like, and
player. Right?
Yeah. No, exactly. They're all positives.
Yeah, that's very true. She talks about that. Yeah. But I wonder, this is my devil's advocate with this. I remember that happening to me when I was in high school, and it not making me feel bad. It made me feel good about myself because I thought I have some kind of value. They think I'm pretty, or they think I'm sexy, or they think I'm hot, and that's why they're doing that. So that makes me awesome. I don't know why my brain did that in high school, but it did. But people didn't really call me those names much. And I wonder if it's because it had that effect on me. Because I was like, you wish I was a slut, because I'm not sleeping with you, right? Because I didn't sleep around and I wasn't a slut. I had one boyfriend, and that's who I was with. And so, but the cat calling, I guess nobody called me a hoe or a slut, but I definitely got cat called, like in the hallway, going from class to class. And I got flirted with, and I got my cheerleader skirt lifted in the hallway. And in that time, the perspective I chose to take was, oh, they think I'm hot, and that's good. So that was a compliment. Even though now as an adult, I go, that wasn't a compliment. That was bullshit. That was patriarchy. That was whatever. But I wonder if it would help not damage the girl by having a different perspective. Does that make sense? Clearly, I'm devil's advocate this. I'm just trying to look at it in a different way. You can disagree with me. And I don't know that I believe it, but I know that that's what I did with that when I was in high school. I did not do that when I moved to New York City and got catcalled by complete strangers. But with people I knew in my high school, for whatever reason, I was like, oh yeah, I am cute in my cheerleader outfit. That's right. You know?
I think that depends on the person and what their experience has been. Like if they've been a victim of sexual abuse, then maybe they can't jump to it's a positive. And if they aren't in a good social standing in high school, I think it would be harder to jump to it's a positive. But if you're a cheerleader and, you're popular, you got a boyfriend, you can go.
Really good point, because I don't know that I was popular in high school, but I definitely didn't feel unpopular. I was friends with everybody. And I definitely enjoyed my social structure in high school. So that's a very good point. Maybe that's part of the reason I reacted that way. What are you going to say, Cathy?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with Kirsten. Like if you're not feeling good about yourself, if you're feeling somewhat socially isolated or not feeling positive, and someone does that, it would have the opposite effect.
Right.
Whereas you took it as a compliment, I'm not sure someone else would.
No, I don't think so either.
So,
or like how your family is adjusting to your changing body. There are different, I know that we're all great with our girls about that, but I know that not all parents are. And I heard from my mom about just negative comments that her dad made about her as a teenager, and like almost implying that she was heavy because she really developed. She got big boobs and, top hangs out, unless you're wearing something skin tight, the top hangs over. And so she has spent the rest of her life talking about being heavy and, oh, I just need to lose so much weight. And she looks great. I mean, she's 75 years old. Like, she's still talking like this. And she's
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. How that stuck. Ah, it's hard. What she said in the book was to encourage your daughter to talk to you about her experiences with boys, to encourage her to have a conversation, to be a safe place. I think part of that is not judging what she talks about, not making her feel bad about whatever she shares, because then that makes it dangerous, really, for her. It's kind of dangerous. So I was eavesdropping on my daughter last night because my husband was snoring. So I decided I'd sleep on the couch. And my 16-year-old was talking really loud in her bedroom. So I wasn't really eavesdropping. I couldn't really avoid hearing it. And I heard her texting with a boy, but FaceTiming with her friend and going through what text she was going to send to this boy. And then I also heard her talk about some TV show where this guy was so hot and so incredible, and she could not even wrap her brain around how hot this guy was on this TV show. And I'm going, who is my chubby-cheeked 2-year-old what is going on? I was so floored because I keep asking her, boys, what's going on with boys? Any boys you're interested in? Nope. Everybody else is boy crazy. I'm not boy crazy. Nope. Busted. So I don't really know how to say, hey, I was on the couch and I overheard you talking about texting this boy that's at another high school. Whatever happened with that? What are you doing with that? Don't ever flash him your boobs on text. Trust me. Not a good plan. You know what I mean? I'm going to figure out how to talk to her about that. But I am going to try to encourage them both to talk to me about boys. Have you guys done any of that yet? Your girls have any boy crushes, boyfriends, boy?
No, but it's sort of the same thing as you, where it's like, oh, so, who do you like? Are you interested in boys? Are you interested in girls? Like,
yeah, I did that
whatever.
Too.
And, the extreme eye roll situation. And then hearing, about then the littler one is like, well, you said that so-and-so is hot. And I was like, oh, and that's enough, Vivian. And
busted. We get those sideway eye glances from Isla too, where Georgia will answer a question and Isla will go. And I go, okay, I'm talking to her later. There's definitely some inside information there. So how often, there's this one boy in the neighborhood named Justin who they've been friends forever. But Justin, I guess, has been meeting them. They're social distancing bike riding. So they're all in masks and they all ride bikes, and they'll ride bikes for hours. They'll stop from time to time, but I think they're being pretty good. But he'll meet up with them, and she never tells us when he meets up with them. And we'll ask, who went? Who'd you go? Did you meet up with anybody? And she always leaves him out. And after we'll go, okay, so JB was there. I get it. I'm trying to get, there's several boys in our neighborhood that they've been friends with since second grade. So, there's like Lars down the street and Justin, and I don't know who all lives in the neighborhood. So of course they're going to end up in this posse of girls riding bikes at some point. But it's so funny. Georgia will not tell us when the boys show up, and Isla's got the inside scoop. Let's see. We already did that. Teacher to say no and deal with the anxiety that comes with saying no. That was my last quote. You guys have anything else?
The other one I had was about their front stage and their backstage. I thought was also another.
What is that? I don't remember that.
That was sort of at the end of the book. And it says, we reveal different parts of ourselves under different conditions. When we think about the phenomenon in theatrical terms, by noting the front stage at work, at school, whatever, our actions are guided in part by the presence of an audience. When we are backstage at home or alone, we can let our hair down and more freely be ourselves. And as parents, we need to understand when they come home and they're like, blah, 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 I hate this teacher, blah, 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 and whatever, that is their backstage self, that they're not necessarily going to tell the teacher off as much as they tell you they're going to. It's probably not going to happen. Like, your kids are far more respectful and would never do that. And this is the place where they're actually supposed to do that.
Yes.
They're supposed to come home and let it all out. Yes. So I just thought that was a really good way of looking at it. Like, you do have a different sort of persona or presentation when you're outside of the house, and you probably should.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
And aren't we supposed to be that safe place where they can let it all hang out? That's our job, is to not judge when they say, I hate her, I'm never talking to her again, and tomorrow they want to go on a bike ride.
Yeah.
Where you don't hold them accountable for all those things. You're just kind of a sounding board. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to be a sounding board. I read somewhere, or maybe heard in a podcast, where at this age we're supposed to be air ferns. We're supposed to, they know where we are. They can find us when they need us. And other than that, they don't need to do anything to take care of us. I mean, obviously, they need to do basic things that are rule related, like if you're going to someone's house, let me know. But they don't need to fill us in. We don't need to know everything that's going on in their life. That's about what we need. We need to be a vessel that needs nothing from them. I thought that was really interesting, so that they can have their autonomy, which is so important, because they can't really be autonomous. They're not driving. They can't, they don't have money. But in that way, they can be autonomous. Just come in.
I also think it goes to your point about the sex stuff. If we are that vessel that can hold information, and they know that we can hold information without any attachment to it whatsoever, when the sex stuff comes up, maybe then they will feel more comfortable, because we've been able to hold all of this stuff all along.
Right. So the same friend that was making fun of me, the same kid that was making fun of me being friends with the mom, told me something that the girl had said about me. It was something that she didn't like. And it was something super innocuous. It was so stupid. Right? So I was just razzing the young lady and said, so your mom told me you got mad at me for blah, blah, blah. And I was just yucking around. Well, the other day, she in front of me said to her mom, Mom, I can't tell you anything because you're a snitch. You told Leanne about that one thing, and so now I can't tell you anything. And I thought, wow, how fragile that trust is. How very fragile. And I had no idea my yucking with her would have had that effect on her where her mother's concerned. And I feel actually really bad, because all I did was, she's a kid I've known since kindergarten, and I was just, just giving her a hard time about saying, I don't want to go to her house because she doesn't let me use my cell phone. So I just don't want to go over there. That was the thing. And I was like, so I hear you don't want to come to my house anymore because I won't let you use your cell phone. Yuck. And boy, that is not what happened in her brain. In her brain, she went, my mom told her what I said, and now I can't trust my mom.
Yeah.
I felt terrible about that, because that was not my intention. And I'm sure that was not her mom's intention. We were just having fun and just chit-chatting about our kids. And I really regret ever saying anything to her. So I thought maybe how you deal with other people's kids may have to be different now too. Because in the past, before she was a teenager, I could have said that to her, and I really believe she would have laughed it off and not thought twice about it. But that need for autonomy and that need to trust your mom must be very private, or at least for that young lady. She needed it to be very private. And I just didn't know that. I felt really bad. So I thought I'd tell that to you guys. So, maybe I'm not.
I mean, it may not even have been that so much needed to be private. It just was an indicator that maybe not everything is private. It probably has very little to do with the actual situation. She just interpreted that as something much larger.
Yeah, I'm probably just feeling very vulnerable about privacy in general. So it's, she was probably just set off by something being communicated that she hadn't necessarily intended for your ears, even if it was completely innocuous, just feeling very vulnerable about the idea of privacy in general.
Right. I don't know. Regardless, I thought it was really interesting, and that maybe I should look at my conversations with my kids differently, because I would have done the same thing. I would have called the same friend and gone, guess what Georgia said about your house? Not thinking twice about it, right. Not understanding that to Georgia, that's a betrayal of her confidence. When it's something as stupid as Georgia doesn't like going to your house because she can't use your cell phone, because you make her hang out with her peers. It's a forced socialization of your child.
How dare you, Leanne? How dare you?
What an asshole. But, I just didn't think that was a big deal. And so to me, that was a lesson for me in regards to not knowing what's important to my own kids, right? And having a different kind of perspective on that. You can tell some people something and they won't tell anybody, Cathy Fromkin. You always tell Cathy something and know that it will go no further than Cathy. Right? And probably you too, Kirsten. But I know our friends aren't as good friends. But if Isla said something about Lily and I told Cathy, it would stop with Cathy. It would not go any further. Whereas I can't tell Bert anything. If I tell him anything about anything going on, the entire world and Instagram will know immediately. So, anyway, in conclusion, I learned a lot from this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah? Thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up.
And I thought to myself, when this book club's over, I'm going to go back. I have Untangled on audiobook. I'm going to listen to it while I'm multitasking, since I've already read it, because I read it so long ago that Georgia was just entering this phase, and Isla wasn't even close. And I feel like things are applicable now that I maybe missed, right? Because I wasn't in it.
I read it at the exact same time when Max was sort of entering this whole thing. Even though it's about girls, there's a lot that is just about development,
right?
And is very applicable to boys. And Lily wasn't even close. And I started rereading it, and I'm really struggling to get through it for whatever reason. Maybe I'll read the audiobook. I'll listen to the audiobook. Like, I just can't sit down and read it for some reason. Even though it's fascinating. And every time I read it, I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. But I get through like 2 paragraphs and then, I don't know, get interrupted or whatever. Maybe
that's the same. Yeah. That's the same with me with Under Pressure, is that I just didn't have enough. I needed like half an hour solid to sit down and take notes. And that was very difficult. And I had to just say to you guys, we are book clubbing on Tuesday. So that I had no choice. This open-ended, we'll get to it when we get to it, I think was hard for me with this particular book, because I wanted to take so many notes, What are you reading now? What's everybody reading now for fun?
So
I just finished. Go ahead.
So I realized there's this thing, only because we're in quarantine. I don't like reading on a computer. I like an actual book in front of me. But the Los Angeles Public Library has this app. I think a lot of libraries are hooked into it, but it's this app where you can, borrow books. And then you can actually highlight in them. And then they put all of your highlights together in one document. And then you just have all of your notes there. I'm like,
that's amazing.
I love this.
Is that Overdrive or is it the other one?
It's Libby.
Libby. Okay.
Yeah.
Libby.
Yeah.
I think maybe you can also do that in Overdrive, but I keep hearing about this, but I don't know how to do it.
I didn't understand. I think I tried to go through Overdrive and I ended up being at Libby. It was really confusing. It's not, it wasn't super easy to figure out. Once I started using it, it was actually really great. So I recommend that.
Very cool. Well, what are you reading in that?
Right now I'm reading Untangled. I've actually read a couple of other parenting books through there. I just finished reading Scream-Free Parenting, which has been on my list for years. And I actually was like, I don't even know why I'm reading this. This is all for toddlers. And it was not at all. It was really quite a good book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Scream-free
parenting. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll recommend that. Not that my sister-in-law screams at her son, but maybe I'll recommend that for her since she has a toddler.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time for recommendations for toddler books, and I'm like, I don't know.
Was actually, I thought it was going to be specifically about toddlers, and it's not. It was good. You could definitely read it as a toddler parent.
Right.
And I also finally read The Gift of Failure. I hadn't read that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That is a good one.
I read that long time ago. Yeah. It's a good book. Long time ago. What are you reading, Kirsten?
I just finished Becoming by Michelle Obama.
How was that?
Highly recommend it. It was really, really great. I actually listened to it. I started reading it. I picked it up at a little free library several months ago, and I started reading it, but then somebody recommended to me, oh no, this is one to do on audiobook because she reads it. And so, and that I do highly recommend that. It was fantastic listening to her, fascinating. And just, it really was a perfect line of inspiring, but also completely relatable. Just as a woman, as a mom, as a woman in the workforce, so good. I cried several times remembering how hopeful I felt then with that administration and how stressful I find this administration. But I highly recommend Becoming.
Awesome. I may get that on audiobook too and listen to it after Untangled. I'm reading Little Fires Everywhere, which I know that you guys have already read, because I was looking for a read for fun, and it's really good. I'm enjoying it. And what else have I been reading? I keep starting books and then not finishing them, which is not my personality. So, and I'm not finishing them because I'm not interested, but they're not grabbing me. Like Little Fires Everywhere has me. And it's not even that crazy great of a story so far, but for whatever reason, that's what my brain was looking for at this point in time. So yeah, I started what was that book? The Flower Moon, the Killer of the Flower Moon, about the Osage
I had
Indians.
the two fucking things. We better have a big lunch. I'm talking cheeseburgers and fries.
I don't know what he's talking about. But Killer of the Flower Moon, I think is what it's called. I started that, but I keep putting it down, I think, and I don't know why. So I'm going to try to get through that one. But
yeah, I haven't started that yet.
Next book club. Any ideas?
I feel like we have a long list, but I can't think of a single one of them right now. One of the things that you mentioned, putting on the list, I read and am not recommending for our book club. I read The Kids Are in Bed, which it's not that it's not good.
Oh yeah.
It just, to me, it was all about finding time when you have little kids, and we're just so far beyond that.
Got it.
And I'm the opposite of you, Leanne. I am someone to get rid of a book now. Like if I'm on page 1 and it's not grabbing me, I would send it back to the library or I'd be done with it. But now that we're in quarantine, my standards have fallen a lot. I'm just reading everything. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give it a bit more of a chance. Or if I'm audiobooking it, I'll speed up the playback. So instead of listening to it regular, I listen to it at 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed or whatever. And so that was one that I finished, even though I was like, I feel like this is for little kids, but maybe I'll get something out of it. And so I listened to the whole thing or read the whole thing. Actually, I think I had that hard copy. I read the whole thing and was like, yeah, my first instinct was correct.
Yeah, right.
Past this stage.
Yeah. Well, I have a suggestion. If you're not into it, I'm totally fine with that. We can find something else. But my friend, who none of you have ever met, we were friends way before kids, even before I knew Bert. Her name is Brooke Purdy, and she wrote a book. And it was just published. It's called The Last Bookstore. And it is about, I'll read the back. When the technological age has brought humanity to its brink, it is 5 kids, their love, and a book that can save mankind. with a tone of from Stranger Things and Goonies and the heroic journey of Stand By Me. The Last Bookstore sets 14-year-old hero Jack and his younger sister Beckett off on a journey with 3 of their friends to find the legendary Last Bookstore that may have the medical answers to save their dying community. Would you guys be interested in reading that? It's short.
100%.
It's like 200 pages.
Will you text me a link too? Because I don't have a paper right here. And
well, to be honest with you, for some reason, and I'm not even joking, I thought I ordered one of these and 3 came. So I have a copy for you.
You were thinking ahead.
No, I actually swear on my children, I thought I ordered 1. And when 3 came, I went, oh, not only is she my friend, I have 2 other friends I book club with. We should just book club this book if it's okay with you. I don't want you to, read something you don't want to read. But
I'm in.
It's a short book and it's cool, to know somebody. So maybe we'll see if she'll come on and talk about the process of writing. Maybe we can book club and then have a bonus book club where we talk to her. So we can do both, right?
Cool. Is she here?
Yeah, she lives in Burbank.
Oh, cool.
And she has 2 kids. One is, I think, Isla's age, and the other one is a couple years younger. So yeah, she got 2 kids. So if you're okay with that, then we'll do.
Of course.
And I'll just off your copies. I can't believe 3 came. See, that's when I believe the good Lord has plans, because I seriously bought 1 copy. Why would I buy 3? I really didn't have this in mind as a book club book.
The good Lord had plans for, I just lost my headphones. The good Lord had plans for Wife of the Party book club.
Exactly. He's watching me at all times, right? All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you for being patient. And let's think of something to read after this, because I think this may be a quick read. It's not, it's not a very thick book. So I think we may get through it really quick. If there's anything else, I just, for those listening and watching, I'm trying to rework my website. So I made a book club tab on my website that has a link to all the books that we've read that sends you straight to Amazon so you can buy the book if you'd like. And also has a link to the episode. So if you want to so many people now in this quarantine are like, I wish you would do a book club. And I'm like, I do a book club and it's on our YouTube page. And I'm like, maybe I should put it on my website so it's a little easier to find, because when you scroll down my YouTube page, it's way down at the bottom, the book clubs. So I'm going to put this I guess I'll put it on the book club page now as upcoming. But as I was going through rebuilding this page, we've read all memoirs and self-help. We haven't read any fiction. So this will be our first fiction, but we should figure out something else maybe that's fiction. Or, I love self-help and I love memoirs. They're like my 2 favorite genres, but I thought we were not very diverse. We kind of stuck with 2 themes. So if you come up with something that's about something else, let me know. Or we could read that book about sex that people keep asking me about, that I posted, that I talked about in our sex episode, Cathy.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like it's like
gay guy, right?
It's a straight woman's guide to sex written by a homosexual male.
Yeah.
About pleasuring your man. And who would know better than a man who knows what he likes and knows how to do that? I don't know. Maybe we could book club. We don't have to book club that book, but maybe we could go outside our comfort zone a little bit. What do you think?
Sure.
What do you think, Kirsten? Not about that book specifically, but maybe we could go outside our comfort zone. Are you listening to me, Kirsten? Can you not hear me?
I'm listening, but I can't hear very well. My AirPods died, so I have the volume turned up, but it's sort of noisy here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll do it next time. So the Last Bookstore, thank you, ladies, for always book clubbing and always podcasting. Always nice to see you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Good to see you, ladies.